That's sexy.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests. Very common in all of our lives we come to a point where there's someone that's not meeting our expectations. It could be in your job, it could also be in Toastmasters. In your job, it might be that someone is supposed to be doing something and they're not. In Toastmasters, it could be the same thing. What I'm going to do tonight is explain to you and demonstrate how you can effectively coach someone into meeting the expectations that you want them to meet. Unfortunately for most of us, we're scared, most of the time, to go and speak with someone and say, listen, you're not meeting my expectations. Because we're afraid that we're going to get into a confrontation. But if you follow these certain steps, you can avoid being in a confrontation and actually have a peaceful resolution that comes out what you want, so that the person's meeting your expectations. So as I said, tonight I will explain and demonstrate to you how to effectively coach someone. First, there's many reasons that people do not meet our expectations. What I'm going to do is first explain to you what the top 4 are, and then I'm going to teach you by showing you a list of what you can do, and then do a role play. So first, the reasons for poor performance. And there are 4 main, but not only 4. The first, poor training. Poor training, I have a wonderful story for you. Just 2 days ago, I started at a Hagwon. I walked in on my first morning, I was handed a stack of books and said, there's your classroom. No training, just, here you go. If my boss has certain expectations for me, and maybe they're high, how can I effectively meet those expectations if she doesn't even tell me? Or if I'm not effectively trained in what their curriculum is and how I'm supposed to teach. This goes without saying that this can also happen in your job. If your boss just sits you at a computer with a stack of papers and says, this is what I want you to do, but doesn't tell you how to do it, how is it that you can effectively meet the expectation? The next one is inadequate equipment. Now, as you saw tonight, and many other nights, we have problems with this computer all the time. It never effectively works like it's supposed to. How can you effectively get up and give a speech if you're giving a speech and your equipment's not working? How can you at your workplace complete your assignments and print your papers if every time you go to print something, it never goes to the printer? This can also be a reason why you're not getting the expectation that you want. The next is time. How many people in here work a job where you have this huge expectation by your boss, a stack of papers on your desk, and there's never enough time to complete your work? I hear many Korean people complain to me about this all the time, because their workload exceeds the amount of hours, and they work from 8 o'clock in the morning till 10 o'clock at night, and go back and do it day after day after day. Your expectations might not be being met because that person doesn't have enough time. And the last one is motivation. How often are you motivating the person who you want to meet that expectation? Have you told them they're doing a good job? Have you said, I like the way you did that, I think you should also do this in the same way? Without properly motivating that person, they're probably not going to meet your expectations. Now these are the top 4 reasons why people don't meet the performance that you want them to. There are others. There are always going to be extenuating circumstances from one way or another. Once you determine what the problem is, whether it's these 4 that I showed you or another, you can adequately get to a point where you can coach someone. When you coach someone, you need to think about what the problem is, and then you need to take the following steps to coach effectively. The first is describe specifically the reason that you want to talk with them. When you meet with a person, you want to greet them with a smile, you want to talk with them calmly, rationally, and explain to them what the reason is that you want to talk with them. The next is express your concern. Speak to them and tell them, this is what I think you're doing wrong, and I'm really concerned because I think you can do a better job. What's going on? Why is it happening? Describe the impact performance has had on you and others. You'll see in the role play tonight that I do what the impact can be when one person doesn't effectively do their job. It could be affecting me, it could be affecting all of you. Acknowledge and listen to the other person. This is one thing that many people don't do. How often has it been that your boss comes in, he barks an order at you, and then he walks out? What you want to do is you want to acknowledge what problems that person has. Listen to them. Let them tell you why they're not meeting your expectation. After doing so, you can seek the person's opinion on how the issue can be solved and work together to discuss what the solutions are. Discuss those solutions and ultimately come up with a way together and agree on that solution and then have the person take action. Your next step is to therefore follow up with the person and make sure they're doing it. If you don't follow up with the person, you know what they're going to think? You don't care, so why should I? If you don't follow up, why should they care? Plus, they're not being held accountable. So if they're not going to be held accountable for doing it, how many people are just going to say, it's okay? Once you follow up, if the person's doing what you asked, praise them for it. Even if they're only doing 10%, if they made an improvement, give them praise. By giving them praise, they'll continue to improve. So these are the steps that you get when you these are the steps that you can use effectively to properly coach someone. Now at this point in time, I'm going to do a role play with Jay. Jay has graciously volunteered to help me tonight by doing a role play. The scenario of a role play tonight is that Jay, as our VP of membership, is not effectively meeting the expectations that I want. Now, as president of the club, and Jay, yes, he is the VP of membership, none of what I'm going to say tonight is true whatsoever at all. And it doesn't reflect upon Jay at all whatsoever. So, okay, also, this is not rehearsed by at all whatsoever, okay? Hey Jay, how are you?
Hello, Tim. Good.
Is it okay if we just talk for a few minutes?
Sure.
Basically, there's been some issues that have been brought to my attention, some things that have been going on over the past couple of weeks, and I just wanted to sit down and talk with you and see if we can come up with a solution.
Sure.
Okay, it basically has to do with your duties as VP membership. And the main problem is that there's been a lot of guests that have been coming into our meeting, and they've been asking numerous people other than you about being a member. And within that, they've been going and they've been asking all the different executives, and they've also been reporting that they haven't been getting the proper information. I'm getting emails from people asking about all different things in regards to becoming a member of this club. So the problem is that it's not really only affecting me right now, it's also affecting other members. And it's also affecting our club because, I love KH and I know you do too, but if we're not effectively grading our guests when they come in and not giving them the right information, what's going to happen is the same thing that happened a while ago where all of a sudden our numbers really dropped. So what I want to do is just sit down and discuss with you, maybe, what's going on with you right now, and see how we can come up with a solution.
Well, I'm really sorry that you were concerned with these issues. I have to say sorry about this. But if you let me explain about my situations, I've been really busy these days because of my work. I couldn't just concentrate on my VPN duties. And there are so many people coming to our club as guests. I can't pay attention to every one of them by myself. And if you have noticed, I'm already really busy taking care of setting up the room before every meeting, every week, and that's a lot of work. I'm not sure if I can do it with myself.
Okay, do you think there's anything that either I or somebody else could do to help you?
Well, honestly, I'm not really sure, but I'm really busy these days and there's a lot of work I should be doing. So maybe we can ask somebody who is not helping our club at all, like Bob.
Bob Taylor.
Okay, well, Jay, I actually took a lot of time in thinking about, what's been going on, and I think there's a couple different solutions that we can put in place. The first was that I noticed a couple meetings in a row that you were helping set up the room, and it's really not your job. It's actually the job of the Sergeant of Arms to set up the room. And if the Sergeant of Arms needs help, they should get a deputy. And within that also, sometimes being the VP membership, because we have so many guests, especially in our club, it might be a good idea for you to get a deputy as well to help you greet guests. And when I'm here on early every meeting, I'll also help you do so. I'm going to stop right there. Okay. Thank you, Jay. Shenji, what do you have for time right now?
2 minutes left.
2 minutes left. Okay. At this point, I'm going to do a 2-minute kind of question, answer, and talk with you about what you saw right here. And if you have any questions, you can feel free to ask me. So, first off, I'm going to ask a question. How did you think that I did in talking with Jay?
Good.
Good? Do you think that was an effective coaching?
Not effective coaching. Because you were talking loud.
I was, what?
Talking loud.
Live?
No, you
A
were
lot.
talking a lot. You should have talked less and listened more. That was I know that this is not rehearsal, but I think if you talk less and allow Jay to talk more, that could be more effective.
I actually agree 100%. That was going to be my comment. I think that effective coaching, if you would have put the ball more in his court, then he would have felt more control. And then if he wanted to change his behavior, he would have felt like it was his idea to change his behavior. And that, in essence, I think, is coaching.
Okay. Okay. Do you know what step we got through?
14.
Very fun.
6 and 9. The Tim talking a lot stuff.
Very funny, Josh. No. We were basically around step 5/6, okay? Which is asking him what he comes up with a solution, me giving my solutions, then asking him, do you think that would work? Do you think that's something you'd want to do? Okay. Are there any other questions?
Yes. It could be more. It could be better if you start the talk with jokes or with a laugh and make him more comfortable. Because when he was sitting, he was afraid. That's why his body language, he crossed his legs and he was sitting in the small space on the chair. So you should have give a more comfortable environment. I'm giving just frank opinion.
Give him a hug.
Sorry, I gotta cut you off or I'm gonna pay money.
Thank you.
Thank you.